Hello everybody, my name is Marlo and welcome back to another episode of TekTopia, where last time round, in case you missed it, we built this lava-powered blacksmith that you can see behind me here, which turned out pretty cool. However, it's not currently functional at the moment, so hopefully today we can change that. But we also, last episode, built a blaze farm. However, I have been doing a little bit of preparing for today's episode, and I've done quite a lot of work before even pressing play to record this one right here. So first things first, I handed out the 2 lumberjack tokens that we bought in the last episode. I then headed back to the previous villages to do some trading and rack up around about 5 stacks of emeralds. I did this because I usually bring that many with me at the start of a new project, but I didn't for this city. After that, I dove into the inner workings of my storage system and made a couple of changes to help with the overflow issue I've been having. With that working, I proceeded to craft a butt ton of sea lanterns. In contrast to the bright and beautiful sea lanterns, I headed to the Nether and gathered up a whole shulker box full of quartz blocks. That took a while. And as if I hadn't already had enough of the resource grinding, I dug all of this sand here, as well as stripping this part of the ocean of gravel. With all that sand and gravel, I crafted some concrete powder and converted it to concrete at my concrete converter. And after that, all of my tools were looking worse for wear, so I did some blaze farming after making an improvement to the design, and I'm pleased to say it works much better now. So now you're all caught up and we are ready to start the episode, and I've just made a quick observation at our tree farms here, which both look pretty much identical to what this one does. Are you out of torches? No, you're not. I'm not sure why you're over here. Oh, you're going to the mines, that's why. But look how much, or how little trees, I should say, are actually here. And we only have, I think, 3 lumberjacks now, and as I said, both of the sides look like this. So I think we're going to have to make some sort of other tree farm in this city at some point or another, because they are just going through these trees like nobody's business. Maybe we go underground. I'm sure as long as we don't go too far underground and make the same mistake as we did in the last village that we don't like to talk about. But hopefully that should be good, or we just use one of the other platforms for some more tree farms. But yeah, I'm just impressed with the speed of the lumberjacks. Then again, I guess as soon as we get some druids, they'll be able to grow these saplings up lickety-split, so maybe it won't be all that bad. Anyway, we are nearly ready to start with the building of today's episode, which if you've looked at the title, you will already know what we're going to be doing. But I had a bit of a toss-up here between, I think it was 3 different buildings that I was going to create. One of them was the tavern here, because obviously that's very important for helping the villagers' happiness levels. We don't have one of them at the moment. The next I was going to build was the school, because then we don't have to rely on nomads and we can start using children to get more villagers, but we're still pretty early on in the life cycle of this city, so I don't think a school is necessary just yet. And the third option that I was going to build, which is what we're actually doing today, was the library. I thought that was the best, as that is how villagers level up their intelligence, and all of ours, well, they're not the smartest at the moment, as you can see. So as I said, we're going to be building the library today, and it's going to go on one of the corner platforms here, fairly close to the city centre and nearby a lot of the other places. And I guess it doesn't really matter which one it goes next to here, because either way it's going to border a tree farm and the farming area. So I guess I'll just do a coin flip and start building on one of these platforms. Once they're fully finished, that is. There's not much to build on at the moment, is there? It's been a while since we've done some talking over a time lapse, and I'm here today doing that right here because I would actually like to kind of walk you through my thought process with this build and take you through the step-by-step stages that I took when it came to designing this in my created test world. So the very first thing I do with all of these buildings in the TekTopia city is to try and envision a rough shape that I would like the build to be. And before I start on adding any sort of, elevation to this build going beyond like 2Y levels, the very first thing I do is make the actual base of it and figure out how I want it to take up the platform and make sure it's nice and centered, which as you can see, this one is in the middle. The next thing I do is start adding in the main points of interest. So for this building, I wanted to have these two shapes on either side, and I'm not really sure what they would be. It's almost like a really long cylinder cut in half, but that's not really a great way of explaining it. You can see the shape that I'm trying to make here. I wanted to have them, I'm not really sure why, but it was in the image in my head. So yeah, the first thing I do is kind of get the general shape of them in. So I've got those two down, and then I added in a couple more just next to it that I knew I wanted as well, and then a third one in the middle. So kind of keeping with this rounded top of the building, but on varying sizes and of course different colors. Now, I knew I wanted some windows integrated into this building of sorts, and we've kind of got that going on here with the sea lanterns behind the glass. I know they're not exactly windows, but they do provide light to the inside as well as the outside of the building, so it's kind of like a window. Also, it has glass, but we do have some proper windows on the grey section of the concrete, and then for the middle sliver here, I'm actually leaving it open, and I'll explain why that is after the time lapse here when we're in first person. It is pretty cool, I must say. So the front and the back of the build are pretty much done at this point. There's a couple of other things we have to add in afterwards, but the left and the right hand side are looking awfully open at the moment, so we really have to do something about that there. So what I wanted to do with this was keep to the circular shape that I was kind of using. I didn't want to do any sort of cuboids for this thing and keep it very rounded like I'm doing everywhere else on the build. So the first thing to do was to add in a great big window here, brought out by one block just to get that little bit of depth so it wasn't just a sheer flat wall. And we got some different colored light grey stained glass and some light blue stained glass just to make a cool bit of a window design. Not exactly sure what that shape's meant to be, but we got it there anyway. And then we just had that other sliver there in between the two white concretes, and I pretty much just filled all of that in with light blue concrete. There wasn't too much room to add in detail, so I wanted to keep it pretty simple with this one. The sides, however, are not completely done. The very top point of the white towers, I guess we would call them, although I don't really think that's the correct word, but the very highest point of the building is still unfinished, so we've just made a couple of shapes there with the sea lanterns and the glass in front of them. The final thing to do for the exterior was to just come to the front and the back entrances here and make them look a little bit better. So of course we needed a stairway leading up to the door itself, and then I basically just added a window frame using some of the quartz and the end rods, and then just put a sea lantern above it to fill in that open gap. Pretty simple, but I think it works. As for the interior, the first thing I did was to smooth out all of the blocks on the ceilings and the walls, and pretty much just try and make it not look like a giant mess. This is what I do for all of my interiors all of the time. I've said it multiple times before, but I'm here saying it again. This is always the first thing I do with interiors. It just gets the base foundations in place, and then you can start adding in the more detailed blocks afterwards. In the case of the library here, it's a whole bunch of bookshelves, which, once again, it was not very fun to get a hold of all of these. It never is. I really need some sort of automatic cow farm, but we're just trying to keep to the general shape of the walls and not really stray too far away from it, kind of just hugging the outside of the build here. And once we got all of them down, we obviously need our enchanting table in the middle for our enchanter to use, as well as a couple of crafting tables. And then I'm just going to line the top with some oak slabs, just because I think it looks a little bit nicer that way. Oh, and we also need to place down some sea lanterns so that we don't get mob spawning in here. Done it for the inside as well as the outside platform. When I first started designing this building, I wanted to try and make it look somewhat like an observatory, and I've kind of done that to a degree. I don't think it specifically looks like an observatory, but it's got a similar shape, right? And I eventually gave up on that idea, not completely, but for the most part, just because it didn't look great aesthetically. And admittedly, you know, it does kind of look like an observatory with the shape, like I said, but it doesn't really look like it can spin. Plus, there's so many windows and other light sources that would just make it completely pointless from an observatorial standpoint, I guess we would say. But yeah, that's where I was going with it, and hence why we have the middle section of the roof here actually open, and I don't think it's quite dark enough yet. No, not quite, but eventually, as you can see, when the moon rises, we kind of get this perfect tracking of the moon and the sun as well over this sliver of the ceiling, which is kind of cool. I was going to build a telescope, and believe you me, I tried, but I just could not come up with something on that small of a scale that actually looked good, so I eventually scrapped the idea, and instead we've just kind of got this, like I said, sliver in the ceiling where we can observe the moon, and here it comes right now. I think we have now reached a point in this city where we are now ready to give it a name, which as always is when I throw it over to you guys. So in this episode, down in the comments below, I would like to know your name suggestions on what you think we should call our city here. Obviously, it's very much incomplete at the moment, but by now you should have a good idea of the style, so try and come up with a name that you think suits what we've built here. Have some fun with it, and I'm looking very much so forward to picking one of those and giving it an official name in the next episode. So you may notice I have some emeralds in my hand here, and that's because we're on the way to the town hall here going to buy some things, and when I say some things I actually mean a lot of things. I basically have all of my emeralds here in my inventory. We're going to be spending all of these except from the 42 in my hand. I've divvied them all up so I know everything we're going to be purchasing if I can remember. Holy moly. Oh wait, that's the villagers. I thought they were all nomads. That's kind of cool to see. Looks like that lumberjack needs an axe. You're making a hoe right now. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So what are we going to be purchasing today? Well, we'll start off with the architect here. Of course, we are going to need, where's the thing that we've just built right now? The library. So that is 36. That is that one right there. There we go. We got our library token, and we did build the smithy in the last episode, so we need to buy that one as well. These 35 are actually for some two-person homes. We're going to be buying 5 of them in total, get all of those lined up, and then the remaining 12 are for the mine shafts over here, because we only have 2 of them at the moment, and we could do with a few more, because some of these emeralds are going to be spent over here with the tradesmen to get some miners. So I think the first thing we're going to do actually is get a couple of druids. I would like them as well, whilst they're fairly cheap. And then we're also, as I said, going to buy the miners here, 3 of them, 4 emeralds each. My inventory is filling up very quickly, but the final thing we're going to buy, of course, is a couple of blacksmiths to work in the smithy that we built in the last episode. Man, that's a lot of tokens. So we have a little bit of a problem. The library token is not active, and I don't know why that is the case. There's various reasons on why that could be. One of them is there is too much floor space, but that is definitely not the reason, because I mean you have to have over 500 I think it is, and that is nowhere near what we have in here. The only other thing I can think what it would be is our gap in the ceiling here. I guess you have to have a proper roof, so unfortunately we may actually have to put some glass down, which really bums me out because I love how this looks without the glass. But if it makes the library invalid, well, I guess we got no other choice. I'm assuming that's what it is. I've just checked the TekTopia wiki to confirm some things, and as you can see right here, a roof must be used in order to create a valid structure. Now, I'm guessing that means you have to entirely fill in the roof and you cannot have an open gap to look at the Minecraft stars. There we go, nice and shiny. Okay, so we've settled for a glass ceiling to look at the stars and the moon and the sun and the blue skies, which isn't ideal, but I guess it's better than having an invalid structure. So it's kind of this or nothing. So we've had to settle for this, but I don't think it looks too bad. From the inside it looks absolutely fine, other than the pixels that you have to look through, and from the outside it also looks just as fine. It's okay, not that drastic of a change. And there are all 4 of the mineshaft tokens placed down. We still have plenty more room for all of the other mineshafts to be filled in, however. We're only just getting started here. And here are the 2 final home tokens placed down. All of them looking nice and shiny, meaning we now have 10 more spare beds so we can get 10 more nomads, which we have to hand out 7. So that works very well. However, I think I missed the nomads today. I was too busy fixing the ceiling of our library over there, which is looking pretty majestic if I don't say myself. And we do have, yes, a little bit of a lighting glitch, which is fairly frustrating because there's nothing I can really do about it except from wait for it to go away. So yes, it bugs me too, but what I was saying is I'm just going to wait until morning and then we'll hand out some tokens, or maybe do it later on. It depends how patient I am. So it turns out I'm not very patient at all. I don't really want to wait around if I don't have to, so we're actually just going to hand out these tokens as and when I see fit, and I'll just try and catch the nomads as I can, and I can maybe do a big update afterwards. Although, we're going to be getting a lot of villagers in this city here, so I don't think I really need to tell you every single time, but we are still in the very early stages of this city project, so I do still like to keep you guys updated whilst we're getting new villagers, especially if it's the first of their kind, like the blacksmith and the druid here, for example. But as you can see here, and I'm totally not doing a creepy thing at all, this is perfectly normal. I'm a mayor just checking up on my citizens. These guys are fast asleep, no idea where the 4th one is. I did just see a couple of villagers just walking around in the nighttime, which is peculiar. Not sure why they're doing that. Maybe they just fancied a nighttime stroll. But yeah, they're coming back to go to sleep now, and I'm also gonna do the same, I think. Actually, I don't think I am, because I would like to fall into the ocean and tell you guys all about what we're going to be doing next. I actually need to head to the Nether once again. I know we spent quite a lot of time in the Nether last episode, but there's something I've been meaning to do for a very, very long time, which I've just been putting off, and we got some time left in this episode here today, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. We're heading to the Nether because I need to make myself a long overdue Nether Hub. So I need to build one of these for one reason in particular. I don't really have a good way of getting back to my old villages. I don't go back there that often, maybe once per episode is a good average, and the reason is usually to shamelessly steal some resources from their storage room. Maybe I'll need a little bit of extra iron or some lapis or something like that, and I just go back there and nab a couple of stacks of whatever I need. I built the place, I get to steal their resources. But for what I'm going to be doing for the moment, it's even worse over here because this village or city is actually quite far away from the other ones. I spawn in to the Nether via my Nether portal here, and it is a couple of 100 blocks away. The other Nether portals are around about 0, so I basically just have to fly off. I forget which way I have to go every single time, but I fly around until I eventually find a portal that's nearer by to home, and then I head through those and kind of fly around in the overworld because all of the other ones are fairly nearby, with the exception of Asteria. So yeah, I need to do something better than this setup right now, because what I have going on here isn't exactly safe or smart or fast in any way, shape or form. So I need to set up a very basic Nether Hub today. I believe it's somewhere around here, just over this ledge, possibly. Yes, there we go. Okay, so this is the portal that leads to Mecklen's Vale, I believe. I think that one is the undergrowth, and then there is a further one on past that Nether portal that leads to Eriduin, our previous village that we've just built, our fantasy elven inspired. And this torch here actually marks a ladder which leads to my gold farm. If we just go all the way up on top of the bedrock ceiling, as you can see, that is what is up here, and that's the only thing that's on top of the bedrock ceiling. For now, we're actually going to be building all of my Nether portals up here. Bearing in mind I can do that. Yeah, I can place blocks up here. Should be all good. So pretty much I'm going to go around and mark all of the coordinates of the overworld Nether portals, divide them by 8, do that whole thing that you need to do when connecting portals, and then I'm just going to set up new ones here in the correct positions on top of the bedrock ceiling, and then we're going to break the other ones, and then I'm going to light the new ones, and then it all should be good. Did you follow any of that? if you didn't, that's okay, because we'll do it step by step. The coordinates of all of the nether portals throughout all of the villages have now been marked down, and I've got them right here. Let's give you a nice blank border to look at. So we have here all 5 of our city slash villages, 4 of them being villages really, but we have the Undergrowth, Mecklen'svale, Eriduine, Asteria, and of course the city. And what we have here are for each of them 2 sets of coordinates. The X value and then the Z value. The Y, the height, doesn't actually matter at all when transporting over to the nether. So the first one, take the Undergrowth here for example, this is the roundabout coordinates. Obviously it goes off by a couple of blocks because nether portals are not just 1 block wide, but those are the coordinates of the nether portal for the Undergrowth and also the spawn area because they're right by each other. So we have 78 and then 39, and I've divided each of those by 8 and obviously had to do some rounding because they don't work exactly. So then in the nether we have to build that portal at 10 and 5, and then for Mecklen'svale you can see what we have here, obviously with some minus numbers because that's where they are in the world. Same again for Eriduine. Asteria is very far away. There is no other desert nearby, so that's why it's that far away from home. And then the city here are these coordinates, and I've literally just finished marking them down over there. So now we have all of this laid out. I'm going to take a screenshot and then I'm just going to go to the nether with some obsidian, make all of the nether portals and just get them in position. However, as I said, I'm not going to light them just yet. Obviously, to make the nether portals I'm going to need some obsidian, which I had none of, so I'm down here in the caves getting some of that. But it's just occurred to me, we are going to have to break the old nether portals, which will obviously give me obsidian. So I should probably stop doing this in a second and just go ahead and break the old portals first of all, and then we can make the new ones using that obsidian, and I'll save myself a little bit of time doing the grind down here in the caves, because it's not particularly fun mining obsidian, is it? So I've made a bit of a mistake, just a tiny one, only a very slight inconvenience, but I broke all of my nether portals, didn't bring a flint and steel, so until I find one, or a fire charge, I'm trapped in the nether with no way out. So thankfully, somewhere nearby here, there is a nether fortress, very close by, at least I thought so. You know, for how often I come in here, I don't really know my way around that well, but I'm gonna, yes, here it is. So I'm gonna scour around here. That's actually my blaze farm over there, as you can see. Hope there is a chest left unopened. Ouch. And fingers crossed it's got a flint and steel in it. Otherwise, I guess I have to die, which I'd rather not do, if I'm honest. How do you even make a fire charge? Is it blaze rods and gunpowder? It's something like that, isn't it? Is that easy to do, or is it just easier if I keep searching for a chest? I'm getting really unlucky at the moment. Gunpowder, coal, and blaze powder. That is actually very doable. I may resort to that instead of the flint and steel, because this is just taking far too long. Never mind, I found a flint and steel. We have another slight problem, which I'm about to show you now. I wasn't aware this was a thing, but I do not believe you can teleport to the roof of the nether, at least not in this version of the game. So as you can see, it nicely linked us back up to spawn and the undergrowth just over there. But if we head back through, something not particularly good is going to happen. And it's happened a couple of times, as you'll see here. We have various nether portals. I'm not sure what's going on with this. I'm guessing it because we were in a village. Well, we teleported. As you can see, it's gone now. But it makes a new nether portal pretty much directly below where it is on the ceiling of the nether. So I'm guessing you just can't teleport to the roof of the nether for whatever reason. If you guys know a way around it, please let me know. Although it's probably going to be too late by the time you comment, because what I'm going to do now is basically scrap the idea of the roof of the Nether. I'm instead just going to dig really high up into the ceiling, pretty much as high as I can go, and just do the old school tunnel method there to each of the individual coordinates that we marked down earlier. So it won't be quite as simple, and it's going to require a bit more work, but it should be okay and should actually work and not be all broken like this is here. I have, however, made a bit of an obsidian farm. Not too bad. I don't need it, but I guess this is always here if I do. Many swings of the pickaxe later, and we are finished. And I know it doesn't look good. It's not really meant to. This isn't going to really feature in the videos all that often. It's going to be a very rare occurrence you guys see this place. It's literally just for me. If you guys do download the world, you have your teleporting to get around. I'm only going to be using the Nether Hub here. But yeah, I may at some point or another, if I'm really bored one day, come here and make it look all nice. But for right now, this is more than sufficient. So over here we have the main hub with our main nether portal, which goes to the spawn and the undergrowth. And then we have this one over here going east, which doesn't actually have anything built there currently, maybe a future village. And then over on the south tunnel, nope, the north tunnel, we have Overdue and my wither killing spot, which is just marked by that sea lantern there. So if I want to choose a wither fight, that's where I gotta go. And obviously you just go all the way to get to Overdue. Over on this one we have Mecklen's Vale and the city, which I guess we can just go to Mecklen's Vale. That is probably the closest one here. So if you want to go to the city, you obviously don't turn down here and you carry on going down the tunnel. But eventually we come to the end here, and as you can see, our portal is all set up. And no, we haven't cheaped out on the corners here. I've done them properly, don't you worry. I've even done them more than properly. They're a lot bigger, or an extra block in width compared to what you need to do, but I like building on odd numbers, that's why. Plus, obsidian isn't that hard to get. So yeah, that's the west tunnel, and then on the south tunnel over here we have Asteria, as well as my blaze farm and my gold farm. And I messed up building one of these tunnels. Any guesses on which one it was? If you said the longest one, you're correct. I was digging all the way to Asteria, which is about a 700 block long tunnel. I wish it was a 7 block long tunnel. That would have saved me some time. I actually built it going off in, I think it was this direction, and spawned in no way near Asteria. I was on the other side of the world, so I had to come back and do it all again, but it wasn't too bad. Digging netherrack is actually super quick and kind of satisfying. I kind of enjoyed it, but my pickaxe is in need of a repair again. However, that will have to wait until the next episode, because I am all out of time for today. And I know we didn't get around to handing those tokens out. I'll make sure we do that next episode, as long as we get the right amount of nomads, that is. There's no guarantee, but we should be able to. A couple of miners going to bed. They've obviously been having a hard day's slog down at the mines. But yeah, that is actually where we're going to have to end off today's episode. But before we go, I have one quick thing to tell you, and that is actually I've installed an additional mod, which is basically, I'm not sure if this is going to show up, but I'll try press it. Okay, nothing happened. I need to get closer to something. I downloaded a mod which basically allows me to see where spawnable blocks are. As you can see, they're highlighted by this cross. So anything that's below light level 7 will have this cross on it. So this basically is just going to really help me for finding where spawnable spaces are, because I'm trying to make this whole city completely spawn proof, just so I could even AFK here and not have to worry about my villagers dying. So I'm using this just to help me out with that sort of thing. Plus, I think this should be a thing in Minecraft. I really do. So yeah, I'm going to leave a link to the mod down in the description below, alongside where all of my other add-ons I have. Just have a look through the description. You should find it. If it's not there, tell me in the comments and I'll add it in as soon as I see it. But yeah, this is going to be super helpful, and I've already found a couple of spots, such as here in particular, which is quite a big one because it's right in the center of the city, and you know, it's a 5 block light level, so I'm going to have to get some sea lanterns or some end rods and do something there. But yeah, just so I'd let you guys know about that additional thing that we have in the series now. Hopefully you're all good with it, because I certainly am, and will not be getting rid of it because like I said, it's going to be super duper helpful. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really hope you did enjoy it. It was a fun one to make as always, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.